In this video, we are going to review a single trade. In fact, one of the better profits that I've made in quite some time, well over $25,000 in a single trade. If you recently saw a video of me where I took over the weeklies recap, a lot of you had good responses and wanted to see more of this. So here is a video where we're going to go over actually one single trade in detail because I think it was good, such a good lesson with a lot of other lessons built in between. So without further ado, let's jump right in where we go over the strategies, the profits, the mistakes, and ultimately the risks I took to come out with this trade. Now, very quickly, before we actually dive into the actual setup itself and why I decided to trade it the way I did, I want to quickly review what we talked about in the last weekly recap video, right? I went over these non-negotiable rules, and so for those who didn't watch that weekly recap video, feel free to go watch that again. If not, feel free to watch this part right here where we kind of just quickly go over the non-negotiable rules, right? I have many other trading rules, but these are kind of the non-negotiables. These are kind of the part of the processes that help me become a profitable trader, which again, have a setup, have a trade plan, follow the trade plan, and then review. So as we have these four, I want to kind of maybe emphasize these four as we go through the trade. So as we're going through the trade, think about how I've kind of checked every single one of these four off the list. And ultimately, it's not a shock to me why it ultimately led to a profitable trade at the end of it all, okay? So just keep that in mind. So the trade where I made $25,000 on was on the ticker of BATL, and it was on the setup, what I would like to call a first red day, but with a little bit of a twist. And that was kind of maybe the motivation or the inspiration for me to want to recap this one particular trade in detail, because many of you might look at how I trade first red days, and we'll kind of go over them very quickly, and how this one fits the mold, but how I approached it had to be different, right? And so very quickly, for those who do not know me or have known my trading history, when I'm talking about a first red day, I'm talking about something that has gone on a very big parabolic run and is ultimately having, its first red day, right? You're going to see many charts if I draw on my trading view here where it's got like one day, two big days in a row, and then all of a sudden, one big day where it blows off, and then the first red day is where we're looking for it to kind of pull back for the first time, okay? So just to give you an idea, let me delete all these, we can get rid of the lines. Just to give you some brief examples, we talked about in the previous weekly recap video, but some of the best ones of that I've personally been a part of is like SMCI, right? Way back here, back in 2024, huge parabolic move with a bunch of green days in a row finally, and the massive pullback came in where it pulls from nearly $100 a share down to $80 a share. And this was when it was actually, before they did a stock split, this was actually $1,100 a share down to $800 a share. So quite the big move. We also have stocks like DXYZ. DXYZ had a huge move. If we go way back when it first kind of, I wouldn't say IPO'd, but came into the public markets, huge move from 24 all the way up to nearly 100, and then had its first huge reversal, or the first red day, goes from 90s down to 60s, right? So kind of just how I drew that line, you can see it here, right? One small day, and then we go two small days, well, two big days really, and then the big day of all going all the way up to 100, and then that leaves room or opportunity for the odds to have a then big red day to the downside. Okay, and so that is exactly what we saw in BATL. Now, BATL is a part of the oil and gas sector, right? If you've been staying up on current news, there has been a lot of war conflict around Iran, all the countries around Iran. Besides the geopolitical situation, the point is, war is coming about, right? There's talks of it, there's uncertainty in the markets because of it, and ultimately it makes the uncertainty of oil and gas prices a thing, because as these bombings are going on, a lot of these companies kind of drill and dig oil around those regions, hence either stopping production or having production have to go to other places. Essentially it creates this level of activity for other oil and energy based companies, right? So some of them, and give you a list, is BATL, INDO, there's also TPET, right? There's a TURB, Turb is one. Turb had a little smaller run, but also went big the last time here. There's also TMDE, right? So a bunch of runners that kind of ignited fire and get going and had those multiple, if not hundreds of percent runs because of this situation. Now, something you need to understand though, if you go back to INDO was kind of like the grandfather in this situation. I say that because this was the first one that ran huge when it first happened. So back in 2022, when the Ukraine and Russian war happened, there was also a similar instance where, hey, oil and gas kind of transportation and getting created were being affected. And so that's caused this huge move in 2022. And INDO was the biggest mover at the time, going from $7 all the way to as high as 90, okay? And came all the way back down. And now ever since there's been some kind of oil and gas conflict, you can see here every time, INDO is spiked is essentially when there's been some kind of conflict or fear, right? We have one small one here, and actually let's get rid of the big one. right? We have a big move here, comes back down, a couple smaller moves here, comes back down, big move here, down, move down, move down, move down, and then now we're here again. So it's like really every single time we've seen volume and push, there's been this kind of conflict, but you'll notice it all comes back down to kind of where we started. Okay, that's the key point to remember here. So now that we know that about the oil sector, right? And you can maybe ask yourself, Kyle, why does it always happen? Well, again, just because there's conflict with kind of the oil sector or the oil and gas industry doesn't mean it stays there. And more importantly, hype usually dies down, right? War does eventually get resolved, or the conflict does get eventually resolved. But on top of that, none of these small cap companies really fundamentally change. They're not positioned well enough to capture the actual conflict that's happening or to benefit from it. It's all hype. It's all kind of people maybe playing games and wanting to feel like they're staying safe by buying these companies, even though it doesn't actually last, right? So knowing how that happens, when I see BATL go from $4 to $30 in just 3 days, it fits the criteria that I like to have for a shred day. It has the kind of multi-move, huge blow-off kind of idea. And so now I'm looking for that hype to die down and for me to be a part of it. Now, so what were some early signs? Well, let's go back to, the grandfather. Let's go back to INDO. When BATL was hitting $30 a share and now going on a huge kind of multi-day run, INDO was actually falling apart, okay? It had made a move from 4 to 8s, actually gapped up and then crashed down from 8 down to 6, close to 7, reopens around 7, but still has a secondary follow through where it goes from 7 down to 5. So again, if you're looking at all the previous runs, that day it had that huge red day to go lower was kind of the confirmation that, hey, the hype is over, things aren't going to last, and it's going to kind of come to an end. So it was kind of a foreshadowing that BATL was next on the list. And it's funny because BATL was up, INDO was up, right? Or not, sorry, INDO. BATL was up, TPET was up here, TMDE was up as well. It's like all of these were up except they were all ignoring the one and only tried and true, first to do it kind of grandfather, right? And I keep saying grandfather stock, but you can call it the leader also, right? This one was dying, yet all the others weren't paying attention. I think that was kind of a foreshadowing for what was to happen. So BATL, I was also acknowledging that, hey, if we can't go higher and if we show signs of maybe going lower into the end of the day, taking it overnight might lead to a gap down. Now, that is going to be the biggest risk point of view on this trade. Okay, and this is one of those things that I don't recommend many beginners do. I don't even recommend most advanced traders do this. I know many advanced traders that as long as they've been trading and as profitable as they've been, they still refuse to take stocks overnight because there just is a risk of a gap up or a gap down against in their direction. Now, I am a little bit messed up in the head. I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'm not going to say I'm the safest out there. I'd like to be. I try to be the best I can. But yes, absolutely, I would do this trade knowing that, hey, there's a risk involved and it might have to be me taking this overnight. Now, with that being said, when would I feel safest to do so? Okay, so if we look into the intraday on the previous day here, this is the day it hit 30. Now, it did just go parabolic up to 35 in pre-market and it failed. Okay, it pulled back. And since we opened, this is the opening candles right around here, right around 9:30. We're pretty volatile, but we're also pretty choppy, right? We dip as low as like 22, 21. We start to grind back up to as high as almost 30, and we can't get over these highs, right? These recent lower highs off the all-time high of 35 in pre-market, right? We're really struggling to get back into these 30, 31 range, okay? And so you'll see here, we grind up and we kind of chop around. Then we make a new lower low. I actually try to short some here and then try to add some as I thought it was going lower. It ends up coming back, so I take a loss there. But ultimately, we just keep chopping sideways and we're never actually able to get and make new moves higher. Okay, now that doesn't mean too much, but again, you put it in the overall scope of things that I've described to you. INDO is dying. I know the hype is not going to last, right? The only thing that would maybe keep this run going in the sector is if there is more war conflict, right? Like more, this huge mining or not, this huge oil refinery gets blown up by a bomb, or the war escalates and now Iran is invaded by XYZ country. Like you kind of have to almost be betting on the war getting worse for these to keep going. And even then, again, even something like, again, back to INDO, where the Ukraine and Russia war lasted much longer than just this run, it still came crashing down. Even with that said, it still did not last. So even when you're rooting for war, and in the sense that you're rooting for BATL to go higher, even in the instance that it does keep happening, eventually the hype dies. Eventually this does just not continue. So that was kind of my thinking, that almost even regardless whether the war, escalated or not, I was willing to take the chance that, one, if it didn't escalate overnight and it got actually de-escalated, it would get way worse for the stock and it would go down. And or even if it did continue to escalate, the hype might be over considering it just couldn't get higher. It could not get over these highs that it set in pre-market. And so you'll see here, I have a transaction on my trades just to show you the screenshot from yesterday. So this is me taking a small loser, realized it wasn't strong or it wasn't weak at all. So I took a small paper cut there. Again, this would show you where I'm taking short over low, a new low or new lower low below like 25. Adding, like I said, taking another loser. And then when we're in the sideways action, this is when I kind of put on some size for the overnight idea. Now, again, going back in hindsight, I really wish I was better on the entries. Again, if I had the idea like I did of taking overnight, it would have been much, much better to actually get short up on the upper range, the upper side of this range. So again, if the all-time high in terms of regular hours was like 30, high 29s, it would have been really much better to get short in the 27s, maybe even try to get 28 here versus shorting down here in the 25s, right? Much, much better doing it up here than down there. So that was my maybe key one mistake. This was my key one mistake, getting short in the lower end of the range. But nonetheless, despite that, the trade plan is I'm going to get short as long as it doesn't break over this kind of 30 high and then can fade in after hours. I am willing to take the risk of holding overnight. And again, if there's no escalation and there's actually maybe some de-escalation, the hype will die and this will have a first red day. Okay. Now, it got close, right? If we go back to the trades, it got close. I was already short and we ended up almost double topping these highs. I was off it was less than 50 cents off, right? The all-time high of the during the regular hours was 29.7. We get to as high as 25.25. So we're like 50 cents away, right? And I have a stop in. If this went, I would have stopped out for a loser and I probably wouldn't have reshorted. So back to what we talked about, those rules I have to stick to. Making a trade plan and then sticking to it. I told you how I just made the trade plan and then all the scenarios based around it. And then here's me taking to it and then sticking with it. So despite how uncomfortable I felt, despite how wrong I felt in this moment, the fact that it went there and then failed was then only further confirmation that, hey, my thesis, my idea just might be right. Okay, so now all I needed left by the close, it closed up here around 27s. So again, still down on the position, right? If my average here is in the kind of the low 25s-ish, still not great, but it doesn't matter. I'm sticking to the trade plan regardless of what my average is. And then we get the fade I was looking for or was hoping for in after hours. So this starts slowly kind of breaking down. Before you know it, by the after hours, it's down all the way as low as 21. And I believe we then close right around where? 23-ish? Keep going. I want to just show you so you can only see where it closes before after hours starts. So you get the fade from 27s down to as low as 21 and then closing after hours in the 22s. So now instead of being down on my position, I'm actually up on it and it's already indicating a gap down of what? At least 20%, right? From 27 to 22s. That's almost a 20% gap down that's kind of predicting or projecting itself to happen just based on after hours actions. So that alone, with everything I just mentioned about the overnight risk, it was a risk I was willing to take. And so I took it overnight. Now, that does not mean it's a foolproof thing, right? There's still a risk involved, which again, this could have easily had an escalation of war and this could have gapped up back to 30, maybe even 35. But again, even in that scenario, even 40, but in that scenario, yes, would have been a bigger loss, absolutely. But would I have been able to survive and it would have been just fine? Also true. The biggest mistake beyond all of this is that one, you're taking this risk overnight, but two, you're taking it with size that you can't actually afford to lose on, which was not the case here. I was actually very conservative in terms of how much money I had in the trade and how much money I have in all of my accounts and all of my trading career that could survive let's call it a big punch in the face if this were to go up against me. Okay, so something to keep in mind there, right? Even if this did gap up dollars or tens of dollars a share against me, I'm not that big in the first place and I can actually withstand, a bigger loser. Okay, so something to really keep in mind here, because the last thing I want you to hear as a beginner is like, oh, Kyle did it, so can I. And you end up being all in on your small 10K account and you actually get blown up because this gaps up to 40, 50, who knows how bad. Whereas for me, it's like, okay, I take a big slap in the face, a big dent to my account, but my account's still there. I could easily refund. I could easily continue my trading journey and I wouldn't be phased. Whereas a beginner, it would be a vastly different, outcome. So with that being said, though, we jump into the next day, right? So pre-market, it does gap up a little bit, but that's fine. It's still gapping up to 25s, but still under the previous day's close, which is 27s, and then we fade. Not only do we fade, we then go lower than where we were in after hours, where instead of 21, we go as low as like 16s. We do have a small bounce, but then into the open, the fading begins, and out the open, we then start selling even harder, and I start covering into pieces every pretty much dollar a share lower, right? I cover some at 16, then 15, then 14, then 13, and I get all of it out at like 13 and a half, ultimately locking in around like 22, 23K. But again, I lost about 3K from this trade here. From these paper cuts here, I lost about $3,000. So all in all, again, we're up, like I said, 22, 23K, but then it bounces. And I was thinking to myself, if it's going to bounce, call it 19, 20, 21, maybe even get into the mid 20s, 22 to 23, 24. If it wants to have a huge bounce, the bigger the better. I was willing to get reshort and look for a further pullback. And so that is what happened. We then get a big, huge bounce from 13s all the way to as high as 20. I start in at 19, but I don't take full size only because I thought there was a chance this still could go higher. I wanted to leave room to add. And so that's exactly what happened. We do it again, a second wave up. I short some more at 21. And even in this instance, I am still giving it room, right? That's the mistake that I've made so many times when it comes to like bounce shorts on an intraday basis, is that some of these bounces can just keep on going. Like, who's to say this bounce couldn't have gone to like 25, 26? And here I am trying to like take full size down at 19 or 20. So I try to keep it a very wide risk, very lighthearted approach when it comes to sizing, because you never know how high they can go. Once they die, if you want to add and try to put your risk on the highs, again, you'll never know they're truly backside. So you do risk the odds being lower, but that's okay too. But in this instance, I was never actually full size. I actually had room to add if it went even higher. But it didn't. It got as high as 22, which again isn't a huge shock to me, right? If you go back to the intraday action, where did this mainly bottom out, right? 22, 2250, 2250, 21 and change. So this 21 to 22 area doesn't shock me. That was once support on the top day, becomes resistance on the backside day. So it does end up topping out. And in fact, it topped out exactly at what, 22.19? That's the exact high. And then the backside starts. Now, again, in another world, should I, could have, would have, added into this pullback, risking the highs here? Totally. But again, I didn't know this was going to be the top. I actually thought it still could have gone higher, but it didn't. And it is what it is. I have, call it half or a third, or actually no, half or a sixth of size on the 2 ads here, or the 3 ads here, I should say, partially filled and then filled some more. And then it pulls. Right? So then it pulls back into like the mid 18s, ends up being quite the support. Unfortunately, I thought this could pull to 16. And actually, as I'm making this video, it is at the 16s in after hours, but I didn't really want to take it in after hours. I didn't want to swing it again. Again, I've already kind of taken the risk of swinging one night. I don't really care to do it again a second night. And so I did cover into the close at around 1850, right? Like literally the minute or two before the close, just because I didn't really want to plan on swinging it. Not a big deal if I took it into the close and then did what I did yesterday, which is just see if it can fade in after hours. And if that was the case, I would be covering right now in the 16s as I'm making this video. But I did get all out here. So not the biggest reshort bounce. I would have loved for it to actually go to 16s in the regular hours. Had it done that, I would have definitely made an extra 6, 7, 8K. This bounce short only ended up really being an extra like 3K. So all in all, in total, even after the losers from the day before, locking in 25 grand for a really, really good, first red day. But again, with the caveat of I didn't enter on a traditional time frame that I would have. I had to take that extra risk of taking overnight, which again is a risk I'm willing to take, but many people aren't, and I do not blame them. Trust me, it is a bigger risk I put myself in front of, and maybe one day it's going to bite me, but I also am very particular on when I do it. And so I took the odds that it wasn't going to happen on this particular one, and it worked out. So if you are interested in taking your trading to the very next level and getting results and trades just like this one, where I make 25 grand on this ticker BATL in this recap, feel free to click the link below and apply for Black Clover. In Black Clover is where you're going to get access to all of the recorded webinars and video lessons that we've ever made in the Clover community, as well as live tradings and live webinars that happen at least twice a week, where you can get direct access to us and see how we do it live. Again, you can apply with the link in the description, or you could scan this QR code here and get it there. Thanks so much, guys. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.